to more than I can be.
So, 3 questions that we'll discuss. First question, why did he finish the race? Anybody want to offer an answer? No wrong answers. One of the youth said that maybe he finished the race because his parents had taught him to finish whatever he started, because that's what their parents did. 65,000 people cheered for him. Do you think that helped? I think it probably did. And last question. At the end of the video, the dad stepped back and let him finish the race alone. Why did he do that? Why did he let him finish alone? People can support us, they can cheer for us when we experience a disappointment, but we have to overcome that disappointment ourselves. We have to run that race. And there was another man in the Bible, his name was Paul. He also never gave up his faith in God. And toward the end of his life, he wrote a letter to a young man named Timothy. And this is what he said. He says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And then I closed out topic time that afternoon with one of my favorite scriptures that I go to when I'm disappointed, and that comes out of Isaiah. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youth grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. This morning we're going to talk about awesome young faith. And of course we're going to be talking about it in the context of Access and the middle schoolers. But awesome young faith is not age specific. It is not limited to children and youth. Young adults, middle adults, older adults come to faith later in life, and yet we've known people that have come to faith later in life, and we watch and enjoy watching the growth of young faith. But this morning, we're going to talk about, in the context in middle school, awesome young faith. And as I've thought about awesome young faith, I've seen 4 things that I have identified as part of that faith. And you may be aware of others or think of others as we talk this morning, but the 4 that I have seen or picked up on are, number 1, it has vision and focused energy. It adapts to change. It grows through structure and nurture, and it inspires. And we're going to look at them one at a time. And we're going to start with the first one. Awesome young faith has vision and focused energy. Our goal this year in Access was to move from our average attendance of about 12, with a core group of about 20, to an attendance of 30, which would mean we'd have to have a core of about 40 for that to happen. And that meant there's going to have to be a lot of inviting for it to happen. And so every week we had 2 or 3 guests. And before the season had ended, over 70 youth had participated in Access. Now, some came once or twice, and we didn't see them again. It wasn't for them. Others, because of commitments and schedules, came sporadically, but they came often. And still others became regulars and began to become inviters themselves. And as we approached that 30 mark, one day in prayer circle, one of the youth asked what was going to happen once we reached 30. Once we reached 30, was there a limit to the number of youth that could come to Access? And I sighed and I looked around the room and I said, well, I think we could get 200 in this basement. And they did not gasp like some of you just did. They said, okay. Does 200 seem outrageous? Maybe. But Joseph had some pretty outrageous visions as well. So outrageous he couldn't contain himself. That's part of what got him into trouble with his brothers. And yet he never gave up his faith in God, and those visions were realized. Second, awesome young faith adapts to change. As I said, Access tripled in size this year. But with success comes challenges. Among the challenges we had was sharing space and being conscientious about our hospitality. The youth had to share time and take turns on the carpet ball tables, playing the Wii and the ping pong table. We had to make a point of talking to and involving the new kids that came. And I want you to think for a moment, I want you to imagine for a moment, if this worship service in a year's time was to triple in size and to go from our average of about 30 to 90. That success would bring with it challenges too, the same challenges that the youth had to deal with. You'd have to share pew space, you might feel a little squeezed, and you'd have to make an effort to include the new people and think about the new people. You'd have to adapt to change. Joseph went from slavery to being the head of the master's house, to jail, to second ruler over Egypt. There was a lot of change there and a lot of adapting. And he kept faith through all of it in every situation. Number 3, awesome young faith grows through structure and nurture. Awesome young faith does not grow spontaneously. It doesn't just happen. It has to be encouraged and nurtured. And at Access, we do that through rules and tools and food. We review the rules often because we've always got new people. So we're often reminding them to be respectful, to be responsible, to be safe, and to be hospitable. And we give them tools for inviting. The number 1 tool being that blue t-shirt there on the wall. And when they get their t-shirt, the new guest is given instructions on how to use that t-shirt to invite their friends. Wear your t-shirt to school on Wednesday. And if somebody asks you about your t-shirt, tell them about Access. And we'll try to remember to tell you what's on the menu so you can invite them to come and eat with you. So you can say, come with me and have hot dogs, or come with me and have pizza. And then you get a reward for wearing your t-shirt. You get a pop. And that's rule number 5. Do not open that pop or drink it until you've left the building. And there's no pop stains anywhere in this building. Now, keep that in mind when I tell you that we went through almost 20 12-packs of pop this year. That's over 240 times that blue t-shirt walked up and down the hallways of our middle school. In March, I sat down with the 8th graders and asked them to help me evaluate Access so that we could maybe make some changes for next year. And I asked them, do we have good pop selections? And one of them said, well, it would be nice if you had Mountain Dew Code Red. I said, well, doesn't Mountain Dew Code Red have a lot of sugar and caffeine in it? And he said, well, what do you care? You don't let us drink it till we've left the building anyway. So we bought Code Red. And the youth experienced God's abundant grace through food for the body and food for the soul. We have a meal right after school, and they come with appetites. And some kids come at first just for the food and then leave. But as time goes on, they stick around a little longer and a little longer, and soon they stay for topic time, and they get food for the soul as well. And that happens through topic time and prayer circle. The Bible doesn't say this, but Joseph's faith had to have been established before he was sold into slavery. And it most likely was his family, his parents, Jacob and Rachel, and probably even his brothers. That's right. That same flawed family and brothers that sold him into slavery were probably part of giving him faith in the first place. A faith that held through all circumstances. Number 4, awesome young faith inspires. The awesome young faith of Joseph inspires us whether we're 12 or 22 or 32 or 42 or 52 or 62, 72, 82, 92, or 102. How about that? I didn't even have to look at my notes. And then there's 12-year-old Jesus in the temple, inspiring the priests with all that he knew and inspiring us when we read that story. And then there's young Timothy, who most likely was inspiring Paul when he wrote those words about finishing his race. You see, we see through new eyes when we look through the eyes of awesome young faith. And that's true whether it is a child, a new child at Bible school or Sunday school, a new youth at Access, a young adult or a middle adult or an older adult who comes to faith later in life, or a college student sharing about a mission trip. On Tuesday night, there were 15 of us here to hear Jocelyn Meininger talk about Flint, Michigan. And while it was disturbing to hear what the people of Flint are going through, it was also inspiring to see her passion and the passion of the other University of Jamestown students that she told about. Awesome young faith inspires, and it affirms, and it validates. And as it says in Hebrews 10, it provokes us to love and action. The adults working with Access this year can tell you that they were inspired by awesome young faith. We were inspired when we saw their enthusiastic inviting and the pride with which they brought their friends to Access. We were inspired by how graciously they adapted to change, continuously inviting and bringing in new people and adapting to that. We were inspired when we saw them growing in spirit. And if you ever sat in the prayer circle, you would know how inspiring that faith is. We were praying for Zach all year. And one day, one of our more shy youth was waiting for a ride, and he wasn't coming to Access. He was across the street waiting for his ride to come when he saw Zach's grandma, Deb Gluttony, coming to the church. And he ran across the street, and he stopped her and explained to her that he couldn't be at Access that afternoon, but he asked how Zach was doing. And this was a shy young man who hardly talked at all when he first started coming. And other youth, when they couldn't stay for prayer circle, would stop me as they left and ask for prayer requests, would ask me to pray for their mom at prayer circle, or their uncle, or their dad, or their brother, or their sister. Awesome young faith inspires. It inspires us in our faith. After I moved to Jamestown almost 8 years ago, in October it'll be 8 years, I had some disappointing days. And when I had my disappointing days, I did what a lot of us do when we're disappointed. I started to yearn for the good old days. The good old days back in Minot when I had this youth group that was a once-in-a-career, once-in-a-lifetime youth group. Except when we long for the good old days, we conveniently forget some of the challenge that was involved in the good old days. The struggles and the challenges and the difficulties are forgotten, and only the results are remembered. But when I'd get disappointed, I would yearn for those good old days. And I started to pray. And I asked God, could I just one more time, can I experience that once in a lifetime, that once in a career youth group? Just one more time, God. I'll do whatever you ask. Just one more time. God has answered that prayer. The good old days are happening right now through Access. And I don't know what next year will bring, but it was a great ride this year. And I hope we have an even more exciting year next year. As I said, God has answered my prayer, and we're going to close this morning with a prayer. On the back of your bulletin is the breakthrough prayer that our prayer team put together. And it's a prayer for possibilities, our breakthrough prayer. And so please join me in praying this prayer. Awesome God, I praise you for abundantly blessing our families, friends, church, community, and world. Help me to fulfill your will. Amen. We're going to close this morning with hymn number 557, which is going to appear on the screen as well as in your hymnals. Blessed be the tie that binds.